If you're applying to multiple jobs and losing track of where you applied, who replied, and when you need to follow up, this Excel tracker will help you organize everything in one place. In this tutorial, we are going to build a simple job application tracker with dropdowns, follow-up alerts, color formatting, a dashboard, and a chart. You can build this yourself step by step, or if you want to have the finished Excel or Google Sheets version, I will link it down below. This tracker will help you log each job application, select the status, mark the priority, track follow-up dates, and see your job search progress at the top of the sheet. We will keep everything on one tab so it is easy to use and easy to update. Let's start with a blank Excel sheet. So what I like to do is make my row height 17, and then we will need row height 30 for the rows 2 and 10 because this is going to be our headers. Now we can change the background color to green and maybe change the font to Tahoma 10, but you can choose any font that you like. I also like to make my first column a puffer, so that's why I'm making column width 1, and then B, C is going to be my merged status header, and then D and E, my application source. So I will use 6 statuses and 6 application sources. So this is why I highlighted this 7x4 table. I will add some outlines, and I will also color the application sources white because they will be flexible. So now I can also format the header with a teal, green, and then white font color, center everything and make it bold. And then I will just add some sample values for my application sources, and for the statuses, I will add applied, screening, interview, offer, rejected, and withdrawn. This is really important to me because some of my functions will be really depending on those statuses. As for the main log table, I will format the header between the columns B and L. And then, as always, I will just add white fonts to them, make it bold. And I'll just type in the header, company name, job title, status, priority, date applied, follow-up, salary, work type, application source, resume version, and notes. Yeah, I'm sure I'm not the only one who has like 10 different versions of my CV. It's really nice to keep in mind which one I send where. So you can add as many rows to your table as you want, but I will just highlight everything to the row 118, and this is going to be my main log table. And after that, I will just add my teal border so everything has the same color. So let's just try to fill out the table. Let's say I will apply to Etsy as a data analyst, and for the status, I obviously want to have the drop down. So for that, I highlight my whole column, and then go to data validation, pick list, and then I can just highlight my table, and this is basically it. So status will be now a drop down, and I can just pick applied. So we obviously want to do the same thing for priority. I highlight my column priority and go to data validation. We do not have a table for that. That's why I will just type high, comma, medium, comma, low. And then I will just pick, let's say high. So for date applied, I will just say that I applied on the 3rd of June. And my follow-up, let's test some things out later. So I will make it yesterday, 22nd of June. So I will also format my dates as short dates, but you can pick any format that you like. And as for salary, you can obviously format it in US dollars, but you normally get a range, so I'll just leave it as a text. And then for the work type, we also want to have our drop down, so we highlight the column, go to data validation list, and then just type hybrid or on-site or remote or any other work type that you might have. So for the application source, we also have our table above. So we just highlight the whole column, go to data validation list, and then just highlight the column D in our table above. So every time I type something else in those cells, the dropdown will change automatically now. Yeah, and just some last resume version. So now let's count how many jobs we've applied to. So for that, we use COUNTIF function, and we will need our range first. So we will obviously count everything that is inside of our status column. So for me, it's everything between D11 and D118, comma, and then we can either type applied or just pick the cell B3. And if I set this D1 to D11 till D118, I will just be able to extend the formula for every single status. And then I will be able to do the same for my application source. So then again, count if, but we will be counting in a different column. It's J11 till J118. And we will be searching for LinkedIn, so for cell D3. And then again, the same thing extended for my whole column. So now we can add the today's date. And I also want to add some calculations. So total applications, overdue follow-ups, and due soon follow-ups. So this is going to be our most complicated formula. So keep attention. So for the total application, we can just add all of our statuses. Yeah, I right now only have one. And for the overdue follow-up, so we need to check multiple things. And this is why we will be using COUNTIFs, right? So for this formula, we always have our range and then the value that we're searching for. So we need to check our follow-up dates, right? So first of all, this shouldn't be in the future, right? So it should be less than today. And then, because otherwise it's not overdue, obviously. So then we also want to check if the cell is empty or not, because otherwise it will just highlight everything that is empty, because an empty cell is like 1st of January 900, which is then less than today. So those are two conditions that we need to check for our follow-ups. And then obviously we have the statuses. So we do not want to have our highlights for the positions that we withdrawn from, or we were rejected, or we already have an offer, because we don't really need a follow-up there. So this is why my three next conditions would be just checking for D11 till D118 that it is not rejected, it is not withdrawn, and it is not an offer. Obviously, if you still want to track the offers that you haven't replied to, then you can forget about this offer part. So we can copy paste this formula and change it a little bit for due soon follow-ups, because basically the statuses stay the same. For those three, we will not be tracking any due soon follow-ups. And the two differences is that we want to highlight everything in yellow. That is basically today plus 3 days, right? So it should be greater or equal to today, because if the follow-up is due today, we can still follow up. And then it has to be less than today plus 3. You can obviously change it to today plus 7. So for me, it's just I want to see where do I need to maybe call or send an email in the next 3 days, not necessarily the whole next week. I'll just add my header formatting to the names, and then I will just center everything, make everything bold, add some borders and things like that, so everything looks kind of similar. Next step is to add our bar chart. So I like the horizontal bar charts. We can delete the chart title. I'll just resize it so it fits better into my dashboard. And then obviously I would like to change the formatting a little bit. I don't like the shape fill or shape outline. I feel like it clutters the dashboard a little bit, so I just set everything to no fill. So we also want to delete those lines, because I will be adding the values. And I also want to make the font darker, because it will be easier to read, obviously. And also, if we format data series, we can make the gap width 40%, and then it is obviously a bit more visible, a bit more visual. And then we can just add data labels and then outside end. And then I will just also make it bold, change the font, make it dark. So this is it for the graph. And the only thing that is missing are our conditional formattings. So let's start with something easy with our statuses. So we highlight the whole column, conditional formatting, new rule. So we only have to check if we have specific value or not. So if our D11 equals to applied, and I can just press B3 for that, I want to have this light green color. So I'll be going with like progressively getting greener. So then I can just copy this rule, and now I will check that D11 equals to B4, which is screening, and then I will just pick a color that is a bit greener or bluer, like deeper color. And then I will change it to B5 in the next step, and then again change the formatting to a bit deeper color. And then my last step is doing the same, changing B5 to B6, and then I will just pick my header color. However, it's not that visible if you write on it with black color, so that's why I also changed the font to white, and this is going to be our offer. So I leave rejected and withdrawn for now. I keep only those 4. I will be adding some sample data so that we can see that all of the formulas work correctly. So yeah, you see applied, screening, interview, like I didn't have any offers, so okay, I'll just change one of them to offer so that we can see that it also works. Yes. So next step is basically to do exact same thing for the priority. We will be just checking if the value is high, then red. If the value is medium, then yellow. If the value is low, then green. So we will just type if E11 equals to low, then this green color. And then the same thing, I can just copy paste the formula and then change the low to medium and the color from green to yellow. And then the last time, just copy and change the medium to high and yellow to red. So now we want to add our color formattings to our follow-up column. So the same thing, we want to format everything with red background color if the follow-up date is in the past, and if it's today or in the next 3 days, we want to format it with a yellow background color. So we go to conditional formatting, new rule. And this is going to be a long formula, unfortunately. So it's similar to the one countif that we already calculated. So we want to check a couple of things. So I will start with our yellow formatting. So for that, we want to check that our G11, because we start with the row 11, is not empty. And then it is greater than today. And then that is less than today plus the next 3 days or 7, whatever works for you. And then we obviously want to check that it is not one of those other 3 statuses. So it's not or rejected, or withdrawn, or offer. And we also want to add a yellow background color. Yeah, I typed some question marks in there. So yeah, we can see it works. And luckily for the overdue one, so we can just do the same thing. We can duplicate the formula and just change to conditions. So for that, we go to conditional formatting, manage rules, duplicate rule, and then if it's overdue, it should be less than today, right? And we also want the format to be red. And this is it. So, okay. And we see it highlighted the yesterday's overdue follow-up. So my last color formatting is actually graying out everything that I was rejected for or that I withdrew. So for that, we will just type or, and then our D11 where we have our statuses is either withdrawn or rejected. And then I want to add some gray background color and also gray font. So yes, here is the finished tracker. At the top, we can see the application summary, source summary, chart, and follow-up counts. In the table, we can track company names, job title, status, priority, dates, salary, work type, source, resume version, CV, and notes. And the colors help us quickly see what needs attention. If you want to build this yourself, follow the steps in this tutorial. And if you want the finished version, I link the ready-to-use version down below. It is already formatted and ready for your own job search. If this tutorial helped, subscribe for more beginner-friendly Excel and Google Sheets templates. And have a great day. Goodbye.